Could a silent woman be a traitor or the savior of an entire base? The transport plane shuddered violently as it descended toward Outpost Eagle, a steel fortress etched into Alaska's frozen wilderness, standing guard like a vigilant sentinel over America's northern frontier. Master Sergeant Elena Hart at 34 sat motionless amid the hum of engines and the sting of sidelong glances. Her blonde hair tied back tightly with threads of early silver, glinting like scars from unseen battles framed a face of quiet resolve. Piercing blue eyes sharp as an eagle's gaze swept the cabin, noting every detail. The frayed straps on seats, the nervous fidgeting of the young officer across from her. Her body toned and resilient, from years of unseen trials, carried a subtle grace, her full figure concealed beneath the crisp uniform, a testament to strength forged in fire. The passengers, a mix of fresh-faced technicians and a cocky junior lieutenant, had long abandoned attempts at small talk. Her silence was an enigma they mocked in whispers. She's just female dead stock transferred out to pasture, silent because she's got nothing worthwhile to say. They saw a woman pushed to the edges of a man's world, her administrative file a quiet condemnation. But they missed the fire in her eyes, the way her hand instinctively brushed the eagle tattoo on her back, a father's legacy inked with the vow, Sawyer High Hunt silently. As the ramp lowered into the howling Arctic wind, Elena rose with fluid precision, stepping into the storm as if it were a whisper. Her duffel bag slung over her shoulder, she vanished into the white expanse, leaving the others shivering. But could her silence save or doom Outpost Eagle? The biting wind clawed at Elena's face as she crossed the threshold into Outpost Eagle, a sprawling fortress of steel and concrete, buried in Alaska's unforgiving tundra, America's watchful eye on the northern horizon. Modeled after the joint bases that guarded the Arctic frontier, it hummed with the quiet vigilance of radar arrays, piercing the endless white servers, churning through a ceaseless flood of global signals. Whispers from distant adversaries, echoes of potential threats from across the Bering Strait. This was no ordinary posting. It was the front line of silent wars where data flowed like blood through the veins of national security, defending interests from the Asia-Pacific to the world's farthest reaches. A young corporal, his cheeks flushed against the cold, barely glanced up from his data pad. Master Sergeant Hart quartermasters down the hall for bunk assignment. Report to Colonel Harlan at ORA 800 sharp. He waved dismissively, turning back to crates of supplies, as if her arrival was just another routine delivery. Elena shouldered her duffel with ease, her movements precise and unyielding, a testament to the discipline etched into her bones. The corridors were sterile, echoing with the low drone of machinery, and the few soldiers she passed offered only curt nods. But whispers followed her like shadows. Another admin transfer. Bet she's here to push papers and look pretty. She met Corporal Jenkins, first a brash young man with a smirk that barely hid his disdain. Master Sergeant, welcome to the edge of nowhere. You'll be logging diagnostics in the comms hub, easy work for someone like you. His eyes lingered too long, his tone laced with condescension. Women like you are good for logistics, not the real battlefield stuff. Elena's expression remained neutral, her blue eyes steady, but inside the words stung like salt on old wounds. She had faced this before, the assumption that her silence meant weakness, that her gender relegated her to the sidelines. Colonel Harlan's office was a shrine to order flags, aligned with military precision awards gleaming under harsh lights. He was a lean man in his 50s, his face carved from years of command, radiating an impatience that bordered on contempt. Glancing at her file, he leaned back. Hart, signals analysis background administrative transfer. We don't have time for dead weight here. This is high-stakes intel gathering the tip of the spear. His voice dripped with dismissal, the female transfer label hanging unspoken but heavy in the air. You'll log system reports, nothing more. Touch anything else and you're out. Elena nodded, her voice low and even. Understood, sir. But as she turned to leave, the mockery echoed in her mind, stirring a deeper ache. Alone in her bunk, she traced the eagle tattoo on her back, its wings spread wide in ink, a symbol of honor and patriotism, a father's gift from his Cold War days. The memory flooded her. Her dad, a veteran engineer, teaching her coding by flashlight in their modest home, his hands steady as he explained lines of logic that could topple empires. Code is power, Elena, he'd say, silent like an eagle hunting. But power had betrayed him, a Russian counterhack, during a covert op inspired by those shadowy CIA dossiers where logic bombs wreaked havoc on Soviet pipelines, exploding in flames that claimed lives, including his. She pulled out her journal, her pen trembling slightly. Dad, I'm still silent like the eagle, but this pain, it never fades. She recalled the anecdote that warmed her, even in this cold summers, with him aiding teen refugees at the border, her small hands helping distribute supplies, while he whispered lessons of compassion amid chaos. We fight not just with weapons, but with heart, he'd say. Those moments had shaped her, fueling her rise in cyber warfare, only to be shattered by loss and sidelined by doubt. Now here she was, dismissed again, her talents buried under prejudice. The base's hum felt mocking, a reminder of her isolation. But when the overhead lights flickered ever so slightly, a subtle glitch in the endless data stream, Elena's gaze sharpened. Would she stay silent? The flicker was subtle at first, a momentary stutter in the overhead lights of the comms hub, the heart of Outpost Eagle, where banks of servers pulsed with the rhythm of intercepted secrets. But Elena felt it like a tremor in her soul, a warning ripple in the vast digital ocean she knew so well. The room alive with the constant whir of cooling fans and the glow of cascading data streams seemed to hold its breath. Technicians glanced up, dismissing it as a power glitch from the generators battling the Arctic storms outside. Corporal Jenkins, ever the know-it-all, muttered, "Just the cold messing with the grid again. Nothing we can't handle." Colonel Harlan stormed in his face, a mask of controlled fury, barking orders like a general facing an invisible foe. "Report, isolate the anomaly now." His team scrambled, fingers flying over keyboards, but the lag persisted, a insidious slowdown creeping through the system like poison in the veins. It was no ordinary glitch. This was a sophisticated intrusion, a variant of the Cerberus worm burrowing deep into the network's core. Elena recognized the signs immediately, the way it adapted, bonding with the host like a parasite, echoing those real-world nightmares, where Russian hackers, through supply chain infiltrations, akin to the infamous SolarWinds breach, had pierced the Pentagon's defenses, compromising intelligence agencies and Fortune 500 giants in a silent siege that unfolded over months undetected until the damage was done. Harlan turned his gaze on her, his voice laced with disdain. "Hart, stick to your logs. This is operational, not clerical busywork. We don't need dead weight slowing us down." The words landed like blows, reinforcing the walls of prejudice that had confined her talents for too long. But as she sat at her corner terminal, her piercing blue eyes fixed on the screens, Elena spotted the vulnerability, a ghost from her past, a flaw in the encryption layers she had helped design in her 20s for Project Phoenix, a classified initiative meant to forge unbreakable digital fortresses. Her mind raced, mapping the breach, a firewall pierced through reckless open ports, elevated privileges left unguarded, much like the backdoors exploited in those Russian campaigns that turned trusted software into weapons. She didn't speak up, not yet. Instead, she observed covertly, her fingers hovering over the keyboard, collating data, while her thoughts soared like the eagle on her back. The base's mission, guarding America's secrets, hung in the balance, and the past whispered warnings of loss and failure. Her heart ached with the weight of it, the silent vow to her father urging her forward. But will she dare intervene or let the past repeat? In the dim glow of her terminal, Elena's mind reeled from the recognition, the Cerberus variant's insidious tendrils, a mirror to the ghosts she had buried deep. Intervene, the word echoed like a dare, but fear clamped down hard, a vice around her heart. Project Phoenix, her creation in those fervent 20s, a shield meant to protect, had crumbled under a similar breach, a cascade of failures that cost everything. Her husband deployed alongside her in that classified op, gone in a flash of digital betrayal, his life snuffed out in the chaos of a system she couldn't save. The memory hit like a storm, his warm hand in hers one last time, promising they'd build a future beyond the code. But the past had repeated its cruel lesson, leaving her a widow, her silence a armor forged in grief. She hesitated, fingers frozen above the keys, the weight of repetition paralyzing. What if acting now only invited more loss? The comms hub buzzed around her technicians, oblivious to the brewing storm, but whispers slithered through the air like venom. Jenkins leaned into a colleague, his voice a low hiss. "Look at her just staring. Too silent, hiding something, I bet. Women like that don't belong in ops. They're liabilities." The suspicion fueled the outrage simmering in her chest, a familiar burn from years of being dismissed, her talents overshadowed by bias. It mirrored the stories of so many women in uniform enduring degrading comments, proving themselves twice over in male-dominated ranks, only to face walls of doubt. Like those veterans who rose through harassment, their resilience a quiet rebellion against a system that questioned their place. Elena's hand trembled as she reached for her journal tucked in her pocket like a talisman. The pages held her unspoken truths, and today they captured the ache. "The eagle fears nothing, but I fear losing everything." A letter from her daughter slipped out, the words, "A dagger. Mom's cold, always silent, abandoned us for the job." At 12, her girl didn't understand the sacrifices, the missions that pulled Elena away, the grief that sealed her lips. Tears blurred the ink, the pain of that fractured bond twisting deeper than any code. She nearly quit, then the urge to walk away overwhelming, to let the base fend for itself, to shield what little remained of her heart from another shatter. The whispers grew louder, the suspicion a noose tightening. "She's not touching anything, probably scared." Or worse. Elena closed her eyes, the eagle on her back, a burning reminder of her father's vow. But when an ally emerges, will she change? Elena's journal lay open on her bunk, the words a fragile bridge to a world she dared not reclaim, when a shadow fell across the page. She looked up to find Sergeant Vaughn, standing there, a grizzled veteran in his 60s, his face weathered like the Alaskan peaks, eyes carrying the quiet wisdom of battles long faded but never forgotten. He was the kind of man who had seen the world change from analog maps to digital frontiers, yet held fast to the old codes of honor. "Mind if I sit, Sergeant Hart?" His voice was gravelly, laced with the warmth of someone who understood loss without needing words. She nodded, closing the journal with a soft snap. Vaughn eased onto the edge of the bunk, his posture straight despite the years. "I've been watching you, not in a creepy way, mind, just an old soldier's habit. There's an eagle in your eyes, girl. Fierce, silent, waiting to strike." Elena's breath caught. No one had seen that in her since her father. She touched her back instinctively, the tattoo a hidden flame under her uniform. Vaughn leaned forward, his own scars telling stories unspoken. "Lost my son in Afghanistan, IED took him clean. He was about your age, full of fire. I see that in you, but caged." He paused, his gaze distant, then shared a tale from the Cold War shadows, when the world teetered on invisible threads. "Back in '82, we had ops like the farewell dossier. CIA slipped logic bombs into Soviet tech pipelines, exploding in their own backyards. Silent sabotage, no fingerprints. But the Russians hit back, hard counter-hacks that cost good men their lives. Silence was our weapon then, just like yours now. Don't let the whispers break you. Let them fuel you." The words stirred something deep, a spark against the chill of her doubt. Vaughn reached into his pocket, pulling out a worn multi-tool, its edges smooth from decades of use. "This was my boy's, but it reminds me of the tools we carried in those days. Take it, might come in handy for more than logs." Elena accepted it, her fingers brushing his, a silent exchange of burdens shared. In that moment, she opened up, sharing an anecdote from her youth summers with her father at the border, aiding teen refugees fleeing turmoil, her hands small but steady as she handed out blankets and hope. "We saved a few kids one night, lost in the dark, scared silent. Dad said, 'We fight with heart, not just code.' But I lost him to a hack like this one." Vaughn nodded, eyes misting. "Then honor him. Silence is a weapon, wield it." With ally by her side, she enters the trials, but real danger begins. With Vaughn's words echoing like a father's embrace, Elena felt the eagle stir within her, urging her to soar beyond the shadows of doubt. The glitch had escalated, the coolant system faltering under the worm's grip, threatening to overheat the core servers and erase vital intel in a blaze of failure. Her heart pounded, but her hands were steady as she rose from her terminal, multi-tool, in hand a relic now charged with purpose. She moved with silent grace to the server rack, ignoring the frantic technicians swarming the digital consoles. "Analog override bypasses the digital hack," she thought, recalling the old-school fail-safes from her Phoenix days. Kneeling before the maintenance panel, she loosened the bolts, exposing the tangle of cables. With deft precision, she severed ties, clamped wires to the manual bus bar, bridging the power conduit. Blue sparks danced, the acrid scent of ozone filling the air, and with a resonant thrum, the pumps roared back to life. The alarm silenced, the core temperature dropped. The room froze, eyes wide in shock. Jenkins stammered, "How?" Harlan's face darkened with suspicion, his voice sharp. "What did you just do, Hart?" A hint of unease flickered. Logs showed anomalies, perhaps an inside job. But the hack was just starting. Who's the real enemy? The comms hub simmered with an uneasy calm after Elena's bold intervention, the coolant pumps now humming steadily, like a heartbeat restored. But the air remained thick with unspoken questions and lingering tension. Harlan's suspicion hung like a shadow over the room, his curt nod dismissing the team back to their stations, with a gruff, "Stay vigilant, this isn't over." Elena returned to her corner terminal, the multi-tool safely tucked into her belt, its weight a quiet reminder of Vaughn's trust. But her mind was already racing ahead, mapping the insidious evolution of the threat. The hack hadn't simply retreated, it had adapted, morphing in ways that echoed the chilling sophistication of the SolarWinds worm, a real-world nightmare, where Russian actors infiltrated trusted supply chains, weaving through government networks like the Pentagon's, with patient multi-stage deception. It started with subtle reconnaissance, then embedded persistence, evolving to evade every safeguard, turning allies into unwitting conduits for chaos that unfolded undetected for months. Here at Outpost Eagle, the uplink to Central Command began to falter, data packets fragmenting erratically like fragile whispers lost in an Arctic blizzard, threatening to sever the base's lifeline to the world beyond the ice. Isolation crept in, a digital noose tightening around their throats. Elena dove into the fray, her fingers flying across the keyboard with the precision of a surgeon dissecting a hidden tumor. She charted the system's vast architecture in her mind, the intricate web of encrypted streams, the critical nodes where firewalls stood as digital sentinels, layered defenses designed to repel intruders at every turn. Screens flickered under her touchlines of code, scrolling like rivers of light, revealing patterns only she could discern. Vaughn hovered nearby, his veteran instincts sharpening as he peered over her shoulder. "What's it showing?" Hart reminds me of those old Soviet infiltrations, a slow burn that turns explosive. He leaned in closer, his gravelly voice a steady anchor amid the rising storm, offering insights drawn from his Cold War scars. "We'll flush this bastard out together. Patience and grit, that's how we won back then." His presence bolstered her, a rare alliance in this den of doubt. But Jenkins circled like a vulture, his sexist barbs growing sharper with each passing moment. "Let the pros handle it, Sergeant. You're good at logging scraps, not this real ops stuff. Women like you get in over their heads, distract the team with your intuition." The words landed like poisoned darts, igniting a spark of outrage in Elena's chest. But she filtered them out, her focus, unyielding on the anomalies buried deep within the log's fake entries with altered timestamps, cleverly masked to obscure the intruder's shadowy path. As she peeled back the digital layers, a red herring surfaced, subtle traces, looping back to Vaughn's access codes, planted with just enough finesse to sow seeds of doubt. Elena's heart twisted in her chest. Could her newfound ally be the hidden enemy, betraying them from within? The thought gnawed at her, a betrayal that echoed too closely to her past wounds. She glanced at him, searching his weathered face. Vaughn met her gaze, unwavering and steady. "Not me, kid. I bled for this flag too long. Keep digging, we'll uncover the truth." With his quiet aid, she pressed on, unraveling the flaw, the insidious backdoor, lurking in the encryption protocol born from hasty patches that created unforeseen cracks in the armor. The team gathered around, breaths held in collective suspense as she isolated the vulnerability, her voice calm as she explained the breach. But in that mini-climax of hard-won triumph, a personal alert pierced the tension, a simple message from her daughter. "Mom, are you proud of me? I aced my test today." The words hit like a warm ray breaking through eternal frost, stirring a profound pity for the innocent life she left behind, the child growing up in the shadow of her mother's unyielding silence. Elena's eyes misted over her fingers, pausing on the keys as memories flooded the day her daughter was born. Tiny hands grasping hers amid the chaos of deployment schedules, The promises whispered in the night that duty had shattered. Tears traced silent paths down her cheeks, a rare crack in her armor. Vaughn noticed squeezing her shoulder with a father's gentleness. She's got your fire, Elena. That pride, it's mutual. Now let's save this frozen hellhole for her sake and for all the kids waiting back home. His words wrapped around her like a lifeline, pulling her back from the edge of despair. Yet the victory proved fleeting, a mere respite in the escalating war. The hack probed even deeper, its digital tentacles slithering toward the base's defense grid. The automated turrets perched on the perimeter, and the missile silos entombed beneath layers of ice guardians, now at risk of turning traitor. Elena's journal entry that night captured the raw ache gnawing at her soul. The eagle flies alone, but the weight of these wings grows heavier with every shadow. The flashback gripped her, then vivid and unrelenting, her husband's final mission during the Phoenix collapse, the system unraveling in a frenzy of corrupted code, his voice crackling over the comms in those last desperate moments. "I love you, Elena, keep flying no matter what." His words had been her anchor, but the silence that followed had hollowed her out, leaving scars that time couldn't mend. The memory fueled a quiet resolve, a fire rekindling in her core. But outrage boiled over as Jenkins cornered her in the corridor, his face twisted in accusation. "You're too involved now, Hart. Silent types like you, probably the traitor, leaking codes to whoever's out there. Women don't hack like this. They slip up." His words, dripping with gender disdain, echoed the deep-seated biases that had plagued her career, mirroring the untold struggles of women who clawed their way through military ranks, only to face betrayal from comrades who saw them as threats rather than equals. The team whispers amplified a chorus of doubt that tested her to the breaking point. Undeterred, Elena traced back the probe, educating the gathering team on the fly amid the mounting chaos. Firewalls here are layered like onion skins. The outer perimeter blocks brute force attacks with intrusion detection, while the inner core encrypts data in transit using AES-256 keys, virtually unbreakable under standard assaults. But this worm adapts cleverly, rerouting through weak encryption handshakes, exploiting those momentary vulnerabilities like a thief picking a lock in the dark. Vaughn nodded his approval, his voice cutting through the noise to bolster her against Jenkins' venomous glares. In the gripping mini-climax, she pinpointed the intrusion's pivotal node, severing a rogue connection with a decisive keystroke, just as piercing alarms blared to life, a ominous countdown igniting on the main screen. The base's own defenses stirred with a menacing wine turrets swiveling inward as the hack turned full predator, multi-layered and relentless, much like SolarWinds' adaptive nightmare that learned and evolved from every attempted block. As turrets turned inward, will Elena fall? As the turrets turned inward, with a low, ominous whine that vibrated through the steel floors, Elena felt the base transform from a fortress into a cage, its own weapons, now predators, stalking their creators. The hack had assaulted the defense grid in full fury, seizing control of the automated sentinels perched on the icy perimeter and the missile silos hidden deep beneath the frozen earth. Red lights pulsed across the main tactical screen, a digital harbinger of doom as the countdown ignited 10 worn minutes until self-annihilation. Echoing real threats like the Russian cyber assaults on Ukraine's power grid, where hackers turned the system against its own people, plunging cities into darkness during conflict. This intrusion wasn't just data theft. It was a calculated strike to weaponize the outpost's might. Turrets swiveling to target the habitat modules, missiles cycling through pre-launch sequences that could obliterate everything in a fiery cascade. Panic rippled through the hub like a chill wind, technicians shouting fragmented jargon, their faces pale masks illuminated by the flashing alerts. Harlan paced like a caged lion, his rigid command fracturing under the invisible assault. "Isolate the grid now. We can't let it fire on us." But the system resisted, locking them out layer by layer, the worm's adaptive code slithering through every countermeasure. Elena stood before the central console, her piercing blue eyes locked on the raw data scrolling past in a torrent of green and red. This was the inmost cave, the heart of the beast, where vulnerability met desperation. She began analyzing the code, her mind a whirlwind of algorithms and patterns dissecting the malicious architecture that had bonded so deeply with the base's core. Yet her hands trembled as they hovered over the keyboard, a betrayal of the fear clawing at her edges. The flashback crashed over her like a rogue wave, her father's final days ravaged by the fallout of a Cold War counter-hack. His body weakened, but his spirit unbroken as he whispered lessons from his hospital bed. Save them, Elena, like I saved you from that storm when you were little lost in the woods. The eagle braves the tempests. She had been 10 clinging to him amid thunder and rain, his strong arms her only shelter. Now the storm was digital, but the stakes eternal. Vaughn appeared at her side, his weathered hand steady on her shoulder. Eagle braves storm's heart. You've got his fire, don't let it dim now. His voice, rough yet reassuring, pulled her from the abyss, a lifeline in the mounting chaos. The countdown ticked relentlessly. 8:47. Elena's journal lay open nearby, her hurried scrawl from moments before capturing the raw vulnerability. Dad, I'll save them like you saved me. But what if I fail again? The words blurred through unshed tears, the weight of her losses pressing down father to a hack's collateral husband, to Phoenix's collapse, daughter to her enforced silence. The hub descended into controlled frenzy, alarms blending with shouts, the acrid smell of overheating circuits mingling with the sweat of fear. Jenkins hovered accusingly, his earlier barbs now laced with panic. This is on you, poking around like you know better. But Elena tuned him out, her trembling fingers, finding rhythm, probing the code's primordial layers for a weakness, a ghost door from her Phoenix designs. As the timer dipped below 7:0, the turret's motors growled, louder barrels aligning with lethal precision. Missiles hummed in their silos, ready to launch inward in a suicidal purge. Elena's breath came in shallow gasps, vulnerability stripping her bare, the fear of losing this makeshift family of her silence, becoming a tomb for them all. Vaughn's encouragement echoed, but doubt whispered louder. Was she enough? The life or death moment hung suspended. What secret emerges? The life or death moment crystallized in the hub's chaotic symphony, alarms shrieking like wounded beasts, screens ablaze with crimson warnings, the countdown slicing through the air like a blade, 5:32, until total self-destruction. The system had turned fully against them, the worm's venom coursing through every vein, commanding the defense grid to unleash hell upon its own. Turrets locked onto vital modules with mechanical precision, their barrels glinting under the flickering lights, while missile silos groaned open beneath the ice, primed for a catastrophic inward launch. This wasn't mere disruption, it was annihilation, a digital betrayal that echoed the 2016 DNC hack, where Russian operatives masquerading as insiders leaked thousands of emails, sowing chaos through misdirection and exposing vulnerabilities that felt like treachery from within. Elena's world narrowed to the console before her, the code a swirling vortex of malice. Her hands still trembling from the storm of memories, steadied as Vaughn's voice cut through the din. This is it, Hart, fly through it. But doubt clawed at her, the weight of failures past threatening to pull her under. The team scattered in frantic desperation, Harlan bellowing futile orders, override the protocols, any means necessary. Jenkins paced erratically, his earlier accusations now laced with raw panic, his eyes darting between screens and Elena, with a mix of fear and resentment. She initiated the sequence for Omega Reset, her fingers blurring across the keys, burrowing past the corrupted interfaces into the system's primordial firmware kernel, the untouchable sanctuary she had architected years ago. This is a firmware purge, she explained amid the roar, her voice steady for the other's sake, educating even in crisis. It erases the worm at its root without destroying the host, like cauterizing a wound to stop the bleed. The screen dissolved into raw command lines, a cascade of pure data where no user-friendly veil remained. But as the prompt flashed, initiate Omega Protocol authorization required, the truth she had buried surged forth. I'm Phoenix, she whispered, the revelation hanging in the air like a thunderclap. The legendary architect of the original security framework, denied and redacted now, unmasked in the eye of the storm. The team froze, awe rippling through the panic, Harlan's eyes widening in stunned recognition, Vaughn nodding with quiet pride. Yet in that vulnerable instant, the surprise twist erupted. Jenkins lunged from the shadows, his face contorted in rage, a concealed sidearm drawn. You think you're the hero, women like you stealing the spotlight, making us look weak. His voice cracked with exposed jealousy, the gender bias that had festered into betrayal spilling out like poison. The misdirection shattered all along the red herrings pointing to Vaughn had been Jenkins' plants, his insider sabotage feeding the external hack inspired by those Russian deceptions in the DNC breach where apparent internal leaks masked foreign orchestration. He had sold out for resentment, turning the base's defenses against itself. Elena's instincts ignited years of sniper training honed in shadowed ops, where precision meant survival kicking in like muscle memory. She dodged his wild swing, her body fluid and lethal, disarming him with a swift strike to the wrist, the multi-tool flashing as an improvised weapon. Close combat unfolded in a blur. She swept his legs, pinning him with a knee to the chest, her blue eyes blazing with the eagle's fierce resolve. "It's over," she growled, binding his hands with cable ties from the panel. The hub watched in breathless silence, the twist ripping through their assumptions like a gale. With Jenkins subdued, Elena turned back to the console, the countdown at 2:14 alarms piercing her eardrums. She entered the memory code, a labyrinthine string of 64 characters etched into her soul from Phoenix's dawn, never stored digitally to prevent breaches. Her rhythm, unbroken fingers flying, despite the exhaustion creeping in, she pressed enter. Sparks erupted from the servers, a shower of blue fire and ozone filling the room, the acrid burn stinging eyes and lungs. For a heart-stopping second, nothing, then silence descended profound and absolute, every system going dark. The catharsis washed over them like a tide. The base saved the worm purged in that firmware inferno, but Elena slumped against the console, utterly exhausted, her body trembling from the adrenaline's crash. Tears mixed with sweat, the weight of revelation and victory pressing down. Vaughn helped her up, his grip firm. "You did it, kid," the eagle soared. Harlan approached, respect dawning in his eyes, but the air hummed with unresolved echoes. Victory, but the return journey isn't over. In the profound silence that followed the reboot, the comms hub felt like a sacred space reborn, the emergency lights casting a soft red glow over faces etched with awe and relief. The countdown had vanished, the turrets stilled their menacing turn, the missiles silenced in their silos. The base breathed again, its digital soul cleansed by Elena's unyielding hand. She leaned against the console, exhaustion weaving through her like threads of fog, her body heavy, but her spirit alight with a quiet victory she hadn't sought. The air still carried the faint tang of ozone, a reminder of the sparks that had bridged life and oblivion. One by one, the soldiers rose, their movements, deliberate, a spontaneous ritual unfolding in the crimson twilight. Sergeant Vaughn was the first, his grizzled frame straightening with the crisp precision of a lifetime in uniform. He raised his hand in a sharp salute, not just to rank, but to the essence of honor, a military tradition where respect transcended hierarchy, a silent vow of solidarity forged in shared peril. His eyes met Elena's, brimming with paternal pride. "You flew true, kid. Your dad would have burst with it." The gesture rippled outward, technicians and officers following suit, their salutes, a forest of arms lifted in unison, an apology woven into the fabric of reverence. It was more than protocol. It was a heartfelt tribute to the woman they had mocked, a collective humbling that acknowledged her as the quiet force that had pulled them from the brink. Colonel Harlan approached last, his lean form humbled, the arrogance that had defined him, now softened by the chasm of his misjudgment. He stopped before her, voice low and raw, stripped of command's edge. "Master Sergeant Hart, Phoenix, I was blind, dismissed you as dead weight, a female transfer, not worth the trouble. I apologize from the depths of a fool's regret. You saved us all." His salute was the sharpest, held longest, a bridge across the divide of prejudice. Elena nodded faintly, her blue eyes meeting his without triumph, only quiet acceptance. Humility defined her. She sought no laurels, only the peace of a job done right. Vaughn helped her to a chair, his pride evident in the gentle pat on her back. "That eagle of yours, it's not just ink. It's legacy." Elena touched the tattoo through her uniform, the wings a symbol of her father's enduring spirit, inked during his Cold War days as a vow of patriotism and silent strength. She shared it softly, her voice steady despite the weariness. "Dad taught me to soar high, hunt silently. He saved lives in the shadows, never seeking glory. It's his fire in me." The room absorbed her words, the legacy resonating like a shared heartbeat, turning mockery into myth. In that moment, positive feelings bloomed humility in their bowed heads, respect in their lingering gazes, a warmth that mended the fractures of doubt and division. Yet as the systems flickered back online, a subtle ping echoed in Elena's mind, a lingering anomaly, a personal thread in the web of betrayal. But personal threat lingers her daughter in peril, as the hub steadied into a fragile normalcy, systems rebooting with the soft whir of revival. Elena allowed herself a moment to breathe, the exhaustion settling like snow on her shoulders. The salutes had faded, the team dispersing to assess the damage, but a subtle ping on her personal device shattered the respite. A encrypted alert, faint but insistent threading through the base's recovering network. It wasn't over. The worm's purge had cleansed the core, but tendrils lingered, extending like the SolarWinds hack's insidious reach, where compromised customer data led to targeted personal threats. Hackers exploiting stolen information to harass or endanger individuals long after the initial breach. This one hit close, a probe aimed at her daughter's civilian account, scraping for location data messages laced with veiled warnings. Curiosity morphed into maternal fury, Elena's blue eyes narrowing as she traced the signal from her terminal. Her skills honed in shadows, now a shield for the one light in her fractured world. Vaughn lingered nearby, sensing the shift. "What's got you tensed, Hart? That eagle look again?" She confided briefly, her voice low. "It's personal targeting, my girl." His face hardened, the veteran fire reigniting. "Then counter it. I'll watch your back." With his quiet support, she delved into the counter hack, her fingers weaving through virtual layers like a sniper sighting a distant mark. The trace led through obfuscated servers, bouncing across proxies and a digital cat and mouse that tested her limits. She bypassed firewalls with elegant scripts decrypting packets that revealed fragments, a photo of her daughter at school, a time-stamped threat implying surveillance. The mini-twist struck a familiar code signature, not foreign aggression, but something intimate, an echo from her Phoenix past, hinting at an insider's grudge. Exhaustion gnawed, but resolve burned brighter, the eagle's vow propelling her. Using her multi-tool to interface a secondary device, she injected a reverse payload, turning the hunted, sealing the breach with a final keystroke that echoed her father's lessons: protect the vulnerable, silent, ensure. The alert vanished, her daughter safe for now, but the victory felt hollow, the personal scar reopening old wounds. Vaughn clapped her shoulder. "You bought time, but who's pulling the strings? Who's the true enemy?" The question of the true enemy burned in Elena's mind like an unquenched flame. The ping's echo, a siren's call, pulling her deeper into the fray. With the base's systems stabilizing, she isolated herself at a secondary terminal, Vaughn standing guard like a sentinel from her father's era. The trace she had initiated revealed more than a random probe. It was a deliberate strike, the hacker's signature unraveling like a thread from her past. As she decrypted the final layers, the twist emerged. The perpetrator was Dr. Marcus Hale, her ex-colleague from Project Phoenix, a brilliant but bitter mind who had once been her peer. Betrayed by his own biases, he had turned traitor, his resentment festering over years of seeing her, a woman, lead innovations he claimed as his own. "You stole the glory." His encoded message sneered, the gender jealousy laid bare, a poison that had driven him to collaborate with external forces, feeding the worm to dismantle what she had built. Elena's heart raced, the betrayal, a dagger twisting in old wounds, but fury for her daughter ignited her resolve. Hale's hack extended to her girl's device, planting trackers that could expose her location. A personal vendetta meant to break Elena where it hurt most. Drawing on her Phoenix roots, she countered with surgical precision, weaving a mirror payload that reflected his intrusion back upon him, sealing his servers, notifying authorities through back channels. The digital duel unfolded in silence, her fingers a blur, the eagle's vow guiding her sore, high strike true. As his systems collapsed under the weight of his own code, Elena saved her daughter, the threat evaporating like mist in dawn's light. Victory surged through her, a major catharsis washing away the shadows of doubt. Her silence no longer a cage, but a testament to strength. In the hub, the team gathered as word spread, Harlan at the forefront, his face a canvas of reevaluation. Hart Phoenix, you've not just saved the base, you've exposed a rot within our own ranks. He offered promotion a command post befitting her legend, but Elena declined with quiet grace. No, sir. I've fought enough visible wars. Equality and silence, that's my path. She revealed the eagle tattoo, its wings a symbol of resilience, echoing the real narratives of women in U.S. Cyber Command who overcame rampant sexism harassment and doubt to rise through the ranks, shattering glass ceilings with unyielding determination. Like those trailblazers facing elite unit biases, yet proving their mettle, Elena's journey dismantled the system's prejudices, her victory a beacon for the overlooked. The catharsis peaked in a private call, her daughter's voice crackling over the secure line. "Mom, you okay?" Tears welled as Elena whispered, "Mom's proud of you always. I love you more than the stars." The reconciliation mended the fractures of absence, her silence finally speaking volumes of love and sacrifice. In the quiet aftermath of the storm outpost, Eagle seemed to exhale its steel corridors, humming with a newfound peace as systems fully restored and the Arctic sun cast pale golden rays across the endless ice. Elena stood in the observation dome, a curved expanse of reinforced glass, offering a panoramic view of the desolate beauty outside a vast, silent tundra that mirrored the calm she had long sought within. The adrenaline had ebbed, leaving her with a profound weariness, but also a clarity she hadn't known in years. Central Command had responded swiftly to Harlan's urgent request, confirming her unredacted file, the blacked-out chapters of her life, as Phoenix now illuminated. They offered her the world, any post, any command, or return to the spotlight she had once illuminated. General accolades poured in gratitude from the highest echelons for averting a catastrophe that could have blinded America's northern eyes. But Elena declined, her voice soft yet firm over the secure line. "This post is fine, sir. It's peaceful here." The isolation that had once felt like exile now wrapped around her like a comforting cloak. In the quiet of the outpost, the mission was pure variables, quantifiable distractions, minimal. The silence, a companion rather than a curse. She chose to stay not as a ghost haunting the edges, but as a guardian embracing the solitude, her talents no longer hidden, but woven into the fabric of this frozen sentinel. As the days settled, Elena shared her father's legacy with those who had come to see her anew. Gathered in the mess hall one evening with Vaughn at her side, like an old friend, she spoke from the heart, her words weaving a tapestry of resilience that touched everyone present. "My dad was a hero in the shadows of the Cold War." She began, her blue eyes distant yet warm. "He served in intelligence ops, wiretapping underwater Soviet communication lines to gather crucial signals that helped turn the tide without a shot fired. Like those unsung operatives using satellite reconnaissance or agents risking everything for intel, he taught me that true strength lies in the quiet acts, the unseen battles that protect what we hold dear." The team listened rapt as she described Summer's learning code by his side, his hands guiding hers through lines that could unravel empires. "He inked this eagle on my back as a vow, patriotism, courage, the freedom to soar without fanfare. His legacy isn't in medals, it's in the lives saved through silence and skill." The message she imparted resonated deeply, a elixir for the soul. Silence is strength, experience is treasure, overcome biases for women veterans and future generations. In a world quick to judge by appearances or rank, her journey showed that true power blooms from within, defying the prejudices that chain us. For the women dismissed in male-dominated fields, for veterans carrying invisible scars, for the young inheriting a divided society, it was a call to embrace one's worth, to turn whispers of doubt into roars of triumph. As the scriptwriter crafting this tale, I aim to convey a timeless truth. In a biased society, listen to silence, it might save the world. Elena's story isn't just fiction. It's a mirror to the real heroes among us, the quiet warriors who persist despite the odds. Share your stories to inspire the community, for in every voice lies the power to heal and uplift. Her father's quote lingered in the air, a lingering beacon. "Soar high, no wing flaps needed." It captured the essence of graceful strength, a reminder that true flight comes from inner wings, not outward noise. If this touches your heart, like and share with those who need its light, comment your own experiences of quiet resilience, and subscribe for more motivational stories that celebrate the unsung.